Hello, dear students. Today, we will discuss one of the greatest writers in history, William Shakespeare. He is famous for writing plays, but today, we will discuss something else he wrote. Shakespeare also wrote poems called sonnets. This video will explore William Shakespeare as a sonneteer. Let us start with the basics. What is a sonnet? A sonnet is a type of poem. It has a unique form, meaning it has rules that make it different from other poems. The word sonnet comes from the Italian word sonetto, which means little song. Even though it is called a little song, sonnets are not sung. They are written as poems. Sonnets are short, with only 14 lines. Yes, every sonnet has exactly 14 lines. Each line has 10 syllables, which means we can clap 10 beats when we read a line. This type of writing is called iambic pentameter. William Shakespeare became famous for writing these sonnets, hence, he is regarded as one of the greatest sonneteers. Shakespeare's sonnets. William Shakespeare wrote 154 sonnets in total. Most of these sonnets were written between 1592 and 1598, when Shakespeare wrote his famous plays. The sonnets are about different topics, but many are about love, beauty, time, and the changes that come with growing older. Shakespeare's sonnets are unique because they explore deep feelings and emotions. He often talks about how time passes and how beauty fades. He also writes about friendship and love in ways that still touch people's hearts today, even hundreds of years after he wrote them. Structure of a Shakespearean sonnet. A sonnet written by Shakespeare has a very specific structure. First, it has 14 lines, as we already know. These 14 lines are divided into 3 parts called quatrains, and 1 part called a couplet. A quatrain is a group of 4 lines. So, 3 quatrains make up 12 lines. A couplet is a group of 2 lines. So, the couplet comes at the end and makes up the last 2 lines of the poem. Rhyme scheme of a Shakespearean sonnet. Rhyme means that words at the end of some lines sound the same. For example, cat and hat rhyme because they sound alike. Shakespeare used a unique rhyme pattern in his sonnets. It goes like this. The first quatrain has lines that rhyme in this pattern, ABAB. The second quatrain has lines that rhyme like this, CDCD. The third quatrain has this rhyme, EFEF. The final couplet rhymes as GG. This might sound complicated, but it is a clever way to organize the poem and make it sound beautiful. Shakespeare's sonnets are like puzzles, each word is carefully chosen to fit perfectly in the rhyme scheme. Themes in Shakespeare's sonnets. Shakespeare's sonnets mainly focus on 3 big themes: love, beauty, and time. Let us take a closer look at each theme. Love is one of the most important themes in Shakespeare's sonnets. Many of his sonnets talk about romantic love, but not always in the way we might think. As a sonneteer, William Shakespeare writes about how love can be wonderful and painful. He talks about how love can make people feel happy and sad at the same time. He also writes about unreturned love, when someone loves another person, but that person does not love them back. These ideas are still very common in stories and movies today. Another common theme in Shakespeare's sonnets is beauty. He writes about how beautiful people are in their youth, but also discusses how beauty fades over time. Shakespeare often compares beauty to nature, such as flowers or the changing seasons. He suggests that beauty is temporary, like a flower that blooms and then wilts. This idea of beauty fading over time is a big part of his sonnets. The third theme is time. Time is a fundamental idea in Shakespeare's sonnets because he often discusses how it affects people. Time causes people to grow old and can change love, beauty, and life. William Shakespeare often tries to fight against the effects of time being a sonneteer. For example, some of his sonnets suggest that love or poetry can make people immortal because their memory will live on even after they are gone. These 3 themes, love, beauty, and time, are central to Shakespeare's sonnets. Famous sonnets by Shakespeare. One of Shakespeare's most famous sonnets is Sonnet 18, which starts with the line, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" In this sonnet, Shakespeare compares a person's beauty to the beauty of a summer day. He says that the person's beauty will never fade because the sonnet itself will keep their memory alive forever. This is a good example of how Shakespeare writes about beauty and time. Another famous sonnet is Sonnet 116, which is about the idea of true love. In this sonnet, Shakespeare says true love does not change even when things get complicated. True love is strong and lasts forever, no matter what happens. This sonnet is often quoted at weddings because it talks about love that never ends. William Shakespeare's legacy as a sonneteer. Shakespeare was not the only poet who wrote sonnets, but he is one of the most famous. His sonnets are unique because they are very carefully written, and they express deep emotions in a way that is easy to understand. Even though Shakespeare wrote these sonnets over 400 years ago, people still read and enjoy them today. His sonnets have been translated into many languages, and they are studied by students all over the world. William Shakespeare's ability to talk about love, beauty, and time in such a timeless way is what makes him one of the greatest sonneteers in history. Conclusion. William Shakespeare was not only a great playwright but also a great sonneteer. He wrote 154 sonnets, which are short 14-line poems. His sonnets follow a specific structure, 3 quatrains, a couplet, and a special rhyme scheme. Shakespeare's sonnets explore essential themes like love, beauty, and time. His words still touch people's hearts today, and that's why we continue to read and study his sonnets.